It's James Steinhubel with TVU on the Business Channel, and we have Marie Gervais, PhD, owner of Shift Management. Lead with confidence. How are you doing today, Marie?
Great. Thank you. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Very well, thank you. It's nice to have you. You know, you're basically an agent of change, an agent of development already. I'm perceiving that you've been involved with virtual commerce for quite some time, but you're experiencing COVID too. So what are you seeing? What are you seeing that has worked in the past that isn't working now? And what are you adding new to your business? So maybe just before I get to the heavy question, introduce yourself, a little bit about your business, and then get to the question.
Sure. Well, I've been a business owner. This is my 13th year. It's my 4th career. And I work in the shift management is basically was created to help people who are good at operations and then find themselves in a supervisory or middle management position with no people management skills, and what do they do? So I work on that, help them with their communication skills, with working with a multicultural team, with dealing with conflict effectively, and then just learning to find their own authority, their own leadership groove. And that developed into a course, which is our signature course called the Supervisory Leadership Certificate course. And we have other courses as well that emerged out of that. And then I also do live web coaching. So I used to, of course, 13 years ago, we didn't have the opportunities that we have now on the internet. And I wasn't thinking internet, I was thinking in-person training, because that's what everybody was doing. And if you would have mentioned virtual, they wouldn't have known what it was anyway, because we didn't have the tools. And then there was the 2015 recession, big crash, and fortunately I had already been doing webinars. And I thought, you know what, most of the online learning stuff that I see is really boring and dry, and people want a real person. So why don't I combine online learning that's really engaging and pertinent and that has to do with people's real industry issues, and then group coaching that's live. And then we do some assessments, and they set some goals, and they put them in place, and it becomes a real learning tool for people that they can do on the job. So that's how I created the business. And it started to go, as people understood that this was going to work, it started to take off. And then when COVID came, what happened basically was that people were in anxiety and freeze mode, and they weren't immediately looking for supervisory leadership things. They were looking for, how do I manage anything? How do I give some hope to my team? So we started the Social Solidarity Work at Home series. We did the 3rd one yesterday, and the 4th one's coming up next week, and that's the last one. The series was interviewing people who are experts in their field who can help out to bring a little bit of sanity to the workplace. The first one was about emotional first aid, and the second one was cybersecurity for remote workers. The third one was working at home with kids. And the 4th one is staying productive over indefinite periods of confinement. So they're all hot topics. And so we advertised that, and we've had people register and come on board with it and share it. So that's been good. And then I've also had a raft of people asking me to present to their workplace or to their industry support organizations, immigrant supporting organizations, to how do we deal with this? How do we find work? How do we recalibrate? And how do we calm ourselves down? And I do have a lot of coaching training, and I can work in a lot of different modalities to help people with emotional regulation. So that's just exploded. Like, the presentations and the coaching has just been going off the charts. And the courses are starting to pick up again now, because now that people are realizing this could be a while and they're going to have to do something with their time, they're now starting to register for the courses. But the coaching has not stopped. So people need to do a career shift, they need a new job, and they don't know how to do it, or they don't know how to manage their teams in new circumstances where everything is online, and their team might be working frontline, but they have to manage it virtually. So all of those things are things I have experience with. I have a virtual team. We've been working entirely virtually for the past 6 years, and my people are all over the world in different time zones. And we work with stakeholders who have different time zones and who have multiple sites. So we've really developed a lot of tools that can help people. So that's what's happened with COVID. And then personally, I go through the same thing everybody else does. I go, oh no, what if this doesn't happen? What if I have no revenue? What if this goes with? So moments of anxiety, and then I bring myself out, and I have good tools to do that. And then I get back on track again, and then 3 days are good, and then look what's happening to the world. So I think that part is the fact that we're all human beings managing this together in the world context is new. We haven't had to do that before in a completely global context. So I'm up for it, but it doesn't mean I'm finding it easy.
Now, you have a PhD in culture and learning.
Yeah.
I can see why you're having many people come to you. The culture has been changed, and people are required to learn. So, what from where you were, you know, if you can, like in 20 seconds, where as you left your PhD with your thesis, what was it? And then I want to get into a little bit about what the core of your teaching and your mentoring and your training, and how you're interpreting that. So start us at your thesis as you get your PhD, and bring us up to where we are.
So I finished my PhD 20 years ago, and I thought, well, I'm
What
working
was
for
the thesis? What was the thesis?
the thesis was about it was about workplace culture, and what I did was I interviewed managers who were all from different cultures, and two were refugees, and one was First Nations. So I interviewed them about how they brought culture into their workplace, and they didn't, and they were scared to death of doing it. They wanted to blend in and be like everybody else, and when they started to talk about it, they realized they had all these tools that they could use, that if they started to use them openly, people would want to use them. And so pretty soon people were asking them to teach them how to do the things that they knew how to do. So that was really fun. So I followed them for a year and reported on the progress, and that was the thesis basically. And then a lot of work came out of that that had to do with people having issues with other kinds of things too. So there was religion at work, there was sexual orientation, there was marginalization, but there was no market for that because we were in a boom economy. Nobody was interested in that because they could just dispose of people if they didn't like them, and they didn't have to work with people. And then when things started to go downhill, it was much harder for people to do that, and they really wanted to keep the people that they had and understand them. And so then I found, but I have never worked 100% in the intercultural marketplace. I've always been working with industry, with middle management, and then coaching for upper management that came out of that. And it's just the intercultural piece sort of it's woven throughout, but it has never been the primary focus. So in the intercultural world, mostly people are doing things like preparing people to go do expat assignments, or having someone come from another country and figure out how to live in that country, or they're experts, they come from a country themselves and they help people to figure out how to do that. So that I've never actually worked in that field. I've just had it infused into what I was doing. I don't know if that makes sense. So mostly working with managers, and mostly in the middle management field, and then the coaching that emerged out of that. But so for the PhD, for a while I was going like, how am I going to make a living out of this? And then the management piece came in, and then people kept saying, well, we have a really diverse team, and they have different levels of English proficiency, and like we have all these cultural misunderstandings and cultural conflicts, and how do we deal with it? And I'm going, I can help with that. So
yes, totally.
Yeah, so that's what that was.
And you know, it gives me great confidence and hope to know that we have you know, Albertans who have the kind of wisdom and knowledge that you have, because here we are, you know, you can now look right in, you know, from a cultural and learning training and experience, because you've carried it right through, and look at what we're going through. Now, I looked at your website, and I'm going to pull out what I think your metrics are, and in terms of how you're teaching and training and coaching and helping people. We've got habits, awareness, communication, resolution, competency. So as you look at where we're at, you know, in COVID, post-COVID, what we're going to walk away from, what we're going to pick up new, you know, how are you looking at it? What are you seeing?
Well, you know, what everybody has is themselves, their own inner gifts and their own capacity to innovate. And really, if you think about that, that's your biggest riches that you've got right there, is you. So once you start to dig into who you are and use your own capacity more intentionally, things go better. And as you do that, you become more aware of other people. And you go, wow, I didn't realize those people had all those talents. And you start using those talents more effectively too. So I really think that that's kind of the crux of it all. And then that allows you to feel more confident because you with the world working together is a lot better than you against the world or you against yourself.
Mhm.
So I would say my philosophy is based on the SWEL principle, SWEL. So it's safety, well-being, encouragement, learning.
Mm.
And I think if people start asking themselves things like, is this safe? Do I feel safe to do this? Does my team feel safe? Will this be safe in the long run? Does this product have a safe birth to death life cycle? Can it be disposed of safely? Will the end users be safe using it? Will the people producing it be safe producing it? If you think of that safety in everything, safety becomes a really strong guiding principle. And when things are safe, what's the next piece? Well, well-being, which would be health, which would be people learning to deal with stress. It would be being more financially literate and learning how to secure finances so that you don't fall off the map all the time something goes wrong, because 97% of Canadians are in debt and couldn't last, in a month. So we have a lot of well-being things that we need to address. And then that third thing is encouragement. If you just listen to the news, and even if you listen to the interview with the Prime Minister, and people start asking questions, it's one criticism after another. They sound respectful, but it's always, how can I find the hole and how can I attack you? How is that? How is that helpful?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if we all encouraged our government and encouraged the leaders and said, wow, this is really great. I was thinking this idea might build on something you've started. It would be completely different. Like if you think of being in a room with people that all hate you and I want to discourage you and criticize you, how much energy you do have to do anything? And a lot of workplaces are like that too. They're based on criticism and people giving what they call constructive feedback, which I think doesn't even exist. There is no constructive feedback. There's either you're criticizing someone or you're encouraging them.
That's right.
So you can correct something that needs to be corrected. You can say, okay, these are 3 steps here and step 2 needs to be corrected. This is how to do it. That is not criticism. But basing a workplace on criticism, and then you talk to people about it, and when they're coaching, they go, oh yeah, I got to work on this. I have all these weak spots. I can't do anything right. Because all they can think of is all the things they've been criticized on. So we need to encourage each other and mirror our qualities and our virtues back to each other so that people can see where their strengths are, because that's really how you grow. Mm-hmm. And so from the encouragement then is an atmosphere of learning. So if we're always thinking, what's the next thing? What do I need to learn? What am I learning now that could be useful to other people? What do people ask me about all the time? And that's really key to other people's businesses in COVID is to what are people asking you to help them with? And that can give you the key to the next product or the next service that you're going to offer. So and that's part of the learning process. So there's learning in the traditional ways. There's learning through just listening to podcasts and books and looking at Sherwood Park TV interviews, and then there's just reflecting on things and thinking, what's working really well and what's not working so well and what could I do differently? Like all of that part is an attitude of learning that makes us curious rather than defensive. So I'd say that's my model. I don't know if that makes sense.
Very much so. It was very generous. How do people get a hold of you, Marie?
Well, they can email me, Marie, Marie, at shiftworkplace.com. They can find me on LinkedIn, Marie Gervais. I'm on all the social media platforms. For some reason, we've got super popular on Pinterest, probably because we're one of the few people writing about leadership in Pinterest. But yeah, it's like 47,000 followers on Pinterest.
That's awesome.
But I'd say I'm really more active consciously on LinkedIn. I have a team member who works on our Pinterest stuff. But yeah, so you can do that. You can phone me, 780-993-1062. You can text me. I'm really easy to find.
That's excellent. Excellent. Now, before we let
go
you go,
to the website and go to the contact page. Yeah, everywhere.
Excellent. Excellent. And just before we let you go, I'm going to let you have one more chance to share with our viewers anything that you think would be helpful and valuable at this time.
Your emotions are a barometer. And so instead of trying to crush them down, think, you know what, I'm feeling anxious right now. Take a deep breath in, blow it out, and say, okay, I do feel anxious. Now what's the next step? So acknowledging the emotion allows it to not sabotage your intent. I think that's a very helpful thing for people to think about.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Marie Gervais, PhD, owner of Shift Management. Lead with confidence. It was an absolute delight and honor to have you today. Thank you.
Thank you for being such a wonderful interviewer and for asking such good questions.
Appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Have a great day.
Yes.